Yeah.
It is?
Well, that's what, yeah. I got a plug check Saturday or Friday.
There was some talk about moving the cone, maybe changing the entrance some way to make it easier. Is there anything they can do to make it easier to get on?
Well, we didn't see any accidents, and everybody got in and out. I don't think you need to worry about it.
I think the concern is you got to be so slow, your second gear on the race surface with a guy coming, at 170, and you're going about 70. So the closure rate, if you don't know that guy's pitting, but it's like that everywhere. Atlanta.
We wrecked there the old way, too.
Yeah.
Before. So.
Good enough. Whatever you thought about that pit road penalty deal, the fact remains that this team is pretty much top-notch when the series visits Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And how about Montoya? He get a pretty good handle on that loose race car.
They're all over this mile-and-a-half racetrack, in the bottom, in the middle.
Whoa! Look out, look out. I don't know how many wide that was, but it was too wide.
Boy, that silence just before the storm is deafening, isn't it?
Welcome back. We're discussing the UAW Daimler-Chrysler 400 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. A lot of talk about no grip. Let's go to our next clip for what may have been the, I guess maybe the most impressive description of what it's like to have no grip. You're riding with Jeff Burton, who had a good car all weekend. Listen to what he said.
I'm actually loose on the front straightaway. I know that sounds stupid, but...
Loose on the front straightaway, is that normal?
What did you say earlier?
Absolutely. I was leaving the racetrack with Elliott Sadler in a helicopter, and he said that I said, I told him I was loose on the front straightaway, and he looked at me, and said the same thing, that if you're, especially around other cars, because it takes the downforce off your car, the thing would actually get loose. You have to lift. He said he had to lift on the front straightaway because it was loose.
They're easier to save on the front straightaway,
They're much easier to save on the front straightaway because you don't have the wheel turned.
Safe to assume that this is going to get better? I mean, this is not an abnormal situation with a newly repaved
No, it's the left side
racetrack.
tire that Goodyear brought. They brought a tire to
The only thing
down.
that's messed up about the whole deal is they didn't test with that tire.
Yeah.
If we had have tested with that tire that we raced yesterday, everyone would have known what to have expected. That's proper grammar, isn't it?
I think so. Close enough for me.
And then and adjusted for it. But they threw this curve to everybody, and people were going, "Wow, what do we do now?"
Yeah, the whole thing. The part of the problem is just 3 years ago, we made 660 horsepower and 1,250 pounds of downforce, and today we're making 825 and 1,700 pounds of downforce, and they put more banking in the racetrack and repave it, and then they go to Goodyear and say these guys are going too fast.
Did you know all those numbers?
No.
Pretty plain fact, because I come talk to you when you were working at DEI and saying, what kind of downforce your cars make?
And he told you the truth.
Heck yeah, I tell everything I know. That's why it doesn't take me too long to tell my story.
So you can't make one person try and slow the cars down.
We're going to move on to a progress report on one Papa Montoya.
You think my phone ringing was aggravating? What about the garbage truck when he shows up?
Watch the hit and then the save.
Well, he had to save it because he's the one that got himself in that position, But he did. It just shows how quick he's adapting to these cars because that's a lot of momentum there. He didn't do a tail slapper all the way down straightaway. He got it gathered up quick.
Look where he's heading to.
I don't think he ever lifted.
If you continue the video, he never lost a spot.
Oh, Sauter flattening the right side there. No grip. It was on the Sauter caution that Jimmy Johnson got his pit stop penalty that we talked about, and we're going to get a little more insight into that from the team radio as we watch what happened and give a listen to it. It's the left rear that gets away.
It takes a right. No, it takes a left.
It almost falls over and makes that hook.
Look at him pointing.
The team sees it. Now listen to what Chad Knaus had to say about it.
Also, you were too far away from the wall, but if you could try to get a little bit closer to the wall, that'll help us a little bit.
Is there a connection there, A and B? Why?
Far away from the wall didn't make that tire go out.
No.
No.
It looked like the guy about caught it.
Yeah.
I didn't see the finish of it. It looked like he about caught it, so they were trying to get it anyway.
That's what we saved our cars. How that worked out. Yeah, pretty big difference.
They both came home wrinkled.
Let's move on to an incident that had the potential to be big and turned out to not be so big after all.
This is like 2 or 3 to go, right? No.
This is the first, the earlier one. Kyle loses it by himself, but look where he is.
He actually got in. Ricky Rudd. It's like, I'll be needing a little bit of space here.
He's like the best spinner outer, not to hit anything we've ever seen.
Spinner outer.
Burton's view of it. Uh-oh. Burton is just going to barely touch him, I think.
Yeah.
Ooh. If he had a hit Burton in the side with those wheels, but if he had hit him harder with those wheels cut to the right like that, he would have veered right to the into the wall.
Now, Bobby Labonte is the one that saved that deal.
Yeah.
Backed up off of him.
Backed up off him. Yeah, moved out.
Yeah. So, loose race cars. Anything we need to add before we go to the commercial break?
I would like to say one thing, if you don't mind.
Help yourself.
Could we stop you?
No.
Okay.
We need bank turns to race our Cup cars. What happened a long time ago is they started trying to race Indy cars on our Cup tracks, and they built the cars so the Indy cars could be happy, and they asked us to race there. And those tracks were too flat. Our cars, all the weight and little bitty tires, they don't do well on flatter tracks. So when they put banks in tracks, it's a good thing.
More banking out there will make this a better racetrack.
That's what that's what a stock car is supposed to race on, a bank track.
I agree 100%.
That will be an excellent racetrack.
It already is.
Yeah,
yes.
It is.
It's a great racetrack.
We will move on to the commercial break and come back on the other side. And what will we see? Trouble for the kid who came to Vegas, ranked 6th in the points, and left less than that. Also, when the black part is fully occupied, there's no rule that says you can't use the green part. If you want to win the picture of the week, go to the Inside Nextel Cup page, use the link to email us your name and address, put the name of the Las Vegas pole sitter, Casey Kane, on the subject line. And congratulations to C. MacArthur in Arizona and the Melnicks in Ontario, Canada, winning the Kevin Harvick and Matt Kenseth pictures from Daytona and California, respectively. So we have seen various degrees of success in dealing with the lack of grip at Las Vegas. The eventual winner has gone to the back with a pit stop penalty, and the hometown boys, the Busch brothers, have been struggling a little bit. Now we're going to check in with the guy who was going for a sweep of the Las Vegas weekend. Jeff Burton won dramatically on Saturday, as we'll see shortly. And now, having gotten loose on the front straightaway, he's got another problem, this time with the race car. Let's give a listen.
Guys, we got an issue here. I've only got 8 volts. Turn everything off that you can turn off.
How many?
I've actually got 11.
How many votes is he supposed to have? I never really paid no attention to the numbers. I just know it's supposed to be like right over there somewhere.
Right, which usually is about between 13 and 14 with everything on.
And he was right. He did have a problem because eventually it bit him, didn't it?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Well, there was talk about it at the end, whether it was the electrical problem or an engine problem, but in any case, it stopped at the end. The next one belongs to you. A bit of a pit stop problem. You had more than one pit stop problem. Let's talk about this one.
I've had lots of pit stop problems this year.
What are you mad about?
This is the one where the jack was an issue, I think.
Oh, the jack broke?
No, I don't.
He's studying the video, and it's
I don't remember what happened, but one of the stops, my right front tire was out of the box, and we got a 1-lap penalty. And then one of my stops that he said we were over the line, and he said back up, back up, back up, and I put it in reverse, and he went like this, that it was okay. And I hadn't moved yet. And so I was concerned, so I moved back a little bit, and I think it came off the jack. I think that's the pit stop, but I didn't see the whole thing, so I think that's what happened. But I'm not sure how all of a sudden it got okay after he jacked it up. I just didn't want to get another penalty for pitting out of the box. He said back up. We never moved, said it was okay, so I waited on the side of safety.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to lap 177. We've got a restart coming here. Jeff Gordon is leading the race. Jimmy Johnson third, and about to have a bit of a breathtaking moment here. Kind of a wide shot. So
let me tell you about Jimmy Johnson.
Who run into him?
Whoa!
I ran into him.
Aerial view.
We saw Casey Kane spin out right there in the Busch race by himself behind 2 or 3 other cars.
This cat right here is probably a little bit confident about his car.
Yeah.
Been to the back, heading to the front.
Let's listen.
Rear brake trace in it. I'm flicking it sideways. We roll it through the center. I don't know how long it'll last, but it's working. We just need to remember that when we put new tires on. You may not be able to do that.
He was saying he was sideways through the center, and Chad said something interesting. When we put on new tires, you might not be able to do that. What's he mean, Greg? Looser?
Probably. What happened is you know, we found out by mistake that new rights with old lefts, the car was very, very fast, very good. It'd stick like, I mean, better than it ever had for about 5 or 10 laps. But we put 4 on, it was terrible, and we put none on, and it was terrible. And so I didn't understand that. I figured no tires, it would take off like it was running,
Right.
and it didn't. It took off loose, you know, just on top of the track. So we put 2 tires on, it was very good. So I'd have put 2 on the whole day if I had my choice.
Well, then you would have needed some lefts.
Yeah, until they give up. I don't think that, well, they had, after 30 laps, they had the mold marks in the middle of them still. So I'm not sure that you'd need to put lefts on the whole day.
That would have been fun.
That's
Probably
a hard
run
tire.
400 miles on the lefts, I bet.
That is a hard tire. We'll move on. A treacherous racetrack can play havoc with your point total. Clint Boyer came to town, 6th in the standings and left ranked 18th.
A lot of people had Clint, after Saturday's practice, penciled in for a guy that could win this race. And all day long, you know, I'm sure he had that feeling when the race started. I bet he thought, you know, I had a shot to win this thing, and it just never was there.
There's the official grabbing the tire again, just in case anybody missed it. Here's Burton, needing a little grass to safely exit pit road.
Probably ran out of room there.
That's just
He
congestion.
actually passed the guy, didn't he?
Yeah, you can do
Castro
that.
fast pit stop of the day puts Jeff Gordon out front for the restart.
Varying strategies all day long on pit road.
Yeah.
Under green, everybody 4. But then after they made a green flag pit stop, when the caution would fall a few laps later, some would get no tires,
Right.
some would get 2, some would get 4. And I think that's the great thing about a hard tire. If there is a great thing about it, it gives you some options on what to do with your strategy.
Right.
And you know the little fuel cell does that as well, because you can't run that long anyway. So maybe you pit and get gas only.
And doesn't it add, I mean, I get this all the time. Once they run a long run of green, maybe go through a green flag pit stop, and then everybody gets strung out, and the emails start coming, oh, race is boring.
I've
But
never seen a boring race.
the interesting thing about it is now you've got all these adjustments and how they're affecting the cars and who's fast and who's slow. I mean, maybe that's an argument for getting the hot pass thing so you can see all the lap times and stuff. But
I've never seen a boring race. I love every race. And what happens is there's racing everywhere.
Right.
yeah.
There's strategy, you know, going on constantly, you know, of how your race car's run and what you're going to do in the pit stop. You know, and there's racing all around the racetrack.
It's like some baseball games wind up 14-1.
Yeah.
And some baseball games wind up 7-6 in the 13th inning. You know, it's sports. And there's times in a race when things are settled down, but that brain in the crew chief is just burning up trying to figure out what to do to that car. And the driver's driving, and he's thinking, what can I tell my guys? All kinds of strategy. And that's why hot pass is a cool thing to get.
They're telling us we got to move on, but I want to ask you this question because you sat home and watched the race, which you never do. Is there something that could be done differently on the broadcast? Did you by chance think to yourself, well, wow, I wish they could show us this or that or the other thing?
I enjoyed the broadcast. I think they could go through the field a little bit more and show what's going on with some of the other cars. But overall, I enjoyed the broadcast very much and thought it was very informative.
Cool.
And we'll move on right quick. But
Well, then
if you had a
Right after you're finished,
yeah,
right?
if you had a little square up in the corner where they were like watching battles, and then maybe you're watching one thing and that comes in there, and if that becomes more interesting, you switch places with them.
Yeah.
I like that.
Don't worry, Jeff. We'll get this all back for you. We're headed for the commercial break right now. We're going to talk about the battle for the lead. It certainly had the potential to be interesting. Unfortunately, it didn't last very long. We'll sort out the reasons why. And when the pits are closed, don't just follow the guy in front.